Oh boy, today's the day. Ever since the new leather shop got put in, I couldn't wait to put my order in for my leather armor. Oh, it's going to match all my friends. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. Let's go ahead and take a look. I was told it would be on the armor stand for me to try on. Hold on. It's pink. It's not supposed to be pink. It's supposed to be brown and match all my friends' armor. It's pink. Nothing's wrong with pink. It's just not what I wanted. Well, let me. I guess I should try it on. Well, it fits okay. Even the shoes and the pants. Oh my goodness. Did someone leave a red sock in the laundry again? Oh, that just tans my hide. Hello, my fellow noobsters. It's me, Texas PK, and we're back here with another look at our city. I'm really liking how it's coming together. If you remember in our last episode, we completed a bridge and guardhouse that is at the entrance heading over towards our neighboring village and our village breeder. And I left it with wanting to let the copper oxidize on the roof. And as you'll notice, I kind of like the way it looks now, where I let the main parts of the roof go to the second stage of oxidation, and then I went ahead and waxed it. But I kept some accent pieces in its completely unoxidized form. I kind of like how that looks, and I think that's how I'm going to end up keeping it. But let's go ahead and take a look at the bridge. I went ahead and let that continue to oxidize because I wasn't really sure about what I thought of it. But I think the fully oxidized is just too green, and I'm not really sure I want it to be the same color as our roof. I think I'm going to end up scraping this all the way back to not the unoxidized form, but the one right after that. But I can't make up my mind. I haven't really decided. I'm going to look at it and see if it grows on me, but I think that's probably what I'm going to do, probably in between the episodes. But right now, let's go ahead and take a look. I want to show you what we're going to be working on today. And we're going to have to come around to the other side back near our butcher shop. I'll meet you over there. Now, like I said, we want to continue to keep working on our city. I wanted to just keep adding buildings to it. And of course, every building needs to have a purpose. And I thought this spot right here is a little empty and it needed something. And well, I thought it might be good to go ahead and put in a leatherworker here next to our butcher shop. I just thought it would be appropriate, maybe too appropriate, but I don't know, I kind of like it. And what I'd like to do is lay out sort of a foundation outline of the building before I start building. I'm also going to have the drops from our cow farm, just that are being fed automatically into the butcher shop, also feed over here. So I went ahead and tied into it a bubble elevator and tie off of our input system. When we're all done, I'll kind of show you what I did to make that work. I'm using a simple item sorter to pull off all the leather that's coming out of our cow farm and sending it over here. What it'll then do is just come up, and I'll have a hopper feeding into a chest for this. But I'm also planning on putting some chests that I'll have to manually fill because all those will be crafted items, whether it's leather armor or saddles. You either have to craft some of those things, or you can pick them up by fishing or as drops from different mobs. But for now, I have a really good idea, I think, for our leather shop. So I think the best way to show it to you, though, is through a time lapse. So sit back and enjoy, and we'll get back together as soon as it's done. All right, the build is done, and I think it turned out pretty good. I wanted to make sure that the building fit in with the rest of the buildings in this area, but was still different enough to where it didn't just look like it, well, it was just a carbon copy of some of the others. So let me give you a quick look, and you can see some of the things we have going on in our Leatherworker shop. On the outside, you can see we did some of the similar decorations that we've done all around, except now I have the flowering azalea leaves, so I went ahead and used one of those out here as kind of a decorative bush. I also put in some different flowers that I've been using. Of course, I really like these polished deep slate walls as kind of a pillar. I think it just kind of makes it look nice. I also tried to add a little bit of depth and texture by using stairs between the roof line and the rest of the building. I think it just kind of adds a neat little element to it. I also tried to mix up the different textures between stone brick, oak, dark oak, spruce, and the cobblestone, just to kind of keep the outside interesting. I kind of felt like a Leatherworker shop is a nice building, but it would be one that maybe isn't the most expensive, and so they might have a mix of different materials as they added on as they expanded. Inside our shop, we can see that I have different chests for different leather goods. We have the armor, the saddles, and just the raw leather. If you look at back behind here, as I mentioned before we did the build, there is a water stream with a bubble column coming up, and it feeds over so that the leather coming from the cow farm automatically feeds into a hopper behind this chest here. I already have a couple that have come through, and I'll show you in a minute how it works. This last one over here in the corner is just an overflow. If I end up needing an extra chest, what I'll probably do is add another hopper feeding into that chest. I also did a little decorating in here besides a picture and a nice little desk with a lantern on it. I put in an armor stand and some leather armor to kind of show off the wares of our leatherworker. And then I also plan on eventually bringing in a leatherworker. So in addition to having a standard door between the rooms, I also added a gate so that I can make sure that the villager doesn't just wander off outside of his workroom. Here in the workroom we have some nice little decorations, some storage, and a workbench, of course, and a couple examples of stuff he might be working on here on the item frame on his desk. Of course, his cauldron's right here so that our leatherworker will have his workstation. I put a couple tripwire hooks just as a way of maybe hanging up work to dry. Upstairs we have just kind of a living quarters. I haven't finished it. I probably won't. I might. If I decide to have more than just one or two leatherworkers, I might come up here and put some stations for them. And really this is just overflow storage on this side, not really usable space, but I really didn't have any other use for it, so I decided to go ahead and leave it open. I also put in some trap doors to make it look like a support column is right here, and just kind of to break up the transition from the cobblestone to the wood. When we go out the back door here into the backyard, we can see we have a nice little work area. I'm using brown banners as sort of, I guess, to represent the leather that the leather workers might have been working on or have tanned and are leaving out to dry. A nice little water bucket here in the backyard for them to use, and just a nice little fenced off area to keep our villagers safe. This way I don't have to worry about him coming out the back door. He can if he wants to, but with the gate closed he won't get into any trouble. And that's it for the build, but let me go ahead and show you how I went ahead and tied this in to our cow farm so that the leather will automatically come into this station instead of being fed off into some other location. So let's go down into our industrial cow farm here. If you remember a few episodes back, we built this to be a combination for our cows and our sheep and our pigs, and they all feed into a nice little kill chamber, if you will, that is manually activated by pressing this button. Puts in the lava, and then you can hit it again to retract it after the cows and the sheep and the pigs are all taken care of. And then their drops come into this little basement area and are fed off into a water stream. So what will happen is when our leather comes out, it'll feed through here, and if it was to keep on going, it would head on into our butcher shop. But right here we have a hopper, so that every item that comes down this water stream will have to be detected by this hopper. And if you take a look at what's inside of it, you'll see I have the typical item sorter where we have 41 pieces of leather and then 4 placeholders of the smooth stone slabs. And what will happen, I'll just go ahead and demonstrate this by throwing a few pieces of leather out into our water stream here. And as they come across, they get sucked in. And our item sorter took them and went into this dropper. And it went too fast for us to see, so I think I'll go ahead and put a couple in here just for fun. And let's put them all in there. But the item sorter is using the target block because it's a more confined space. I wanted to take up a little less room. And it basically works the same way as any normal item sorter works, just that this new target block mechanic makes it to where you don't have to put a repeater right here. So it saves an extra block. Once they feed into the dropper and they're fed out, you heard it go pretty quick. I'm using a double observer clock to feed them into that water stream, which then takes it into our Leatherworker shop. Let's head back in there and I'll show you where they ended up. And here we are in our Leatherworker shop again. And if we look in here, yep, there they all came into this chest. It's pretty handy to have to where one location will have all our leather. And that's it. I really like how this turned out. I think not only is it going to be functional, make it easy to have all our leather in one spot, it also looks really good and is going to give us a nice little home for our leatherworkers when we move them into town. But before we call it a day, I'd like to ask your opinion. There's a lot of different buildings I'd like to put into this city, and I'm not really sure which way I should go, so I'd like your ideas. Should I put something in like a wool farm and a nice little shepherd's house? Or maybe we should go a little more aesthetic and do something that's just decorative, like a nice chapel or something like that. Or maybe something completely functional like a storage system. Not really sure, so I'd like to know what you think. So if you don't mind, go ahead and put your ideas down in the comment section below, and we'll see if we can't put them to work in our city here. But I think that's going to be it for today, and I hope you had a lot of fun. I know I did. And if you did, make sure you do all those things that you're supposed to do. And I hope to see you again in the next one. But until then, this is Texas PK. Be good to each other. Bye!